Around the whole of the universe, species constantly face each other in mortal combat. Some for glory, some for honor, some to attract mates should they survive. Yet it's all actually wrapped around one thing, and that is the conquest of resources. Resources to feed their war machines. Why? Because they have all decided to face each other militarily. Through force of arms, they go and subjugate a species, strip the planet into nothing in order to extend their military reach to another planet to subjugate the species and strip it for resources. The cycle continues as each species reaches out and then finds each other. When they find another species doing the same thing, they decide to fight it out in massive slug matches, which equivalent to massive slap fights across huge areas until only one comes out on top. Yet this will massively drain the resources they have, meaning they need to find more planets to exploit. Yet, as the borders over time seem to stabilize, the quest for dominance does not, and resources become more and more difficult to find as they are now scattered across war zones. Because of the lack of resources, wars on planets that need to be taken quickly stretch on for tens of solar rotations. Resources, like personnel, can be lost en masse as the local populations of these planets they're taking learn to face off against multiple incursions from everything from a full-on government to a warlord, despot, dictator, or some sort of band of thieves that simply comes knocking. They simply tear them apart. Yet resources get even more strained as they try to take this entire planet. Ships required to take planets by simply glassing the planet or simply beating down cities until the populace surrendered are stuck on the front line, and more of them are destroyed, meaning that even less are available. This means ships that were decommissioned a century prior are brought back into service. Weapons not used in several decades are brought back to supplement the losses. Those sent to the ground no longer had the massive battle armors they once had. Instead, they land in simple fabric uniforms with small plates covering some of the vital areas. Warfare is still constant, though, despite the strain. It has just now devolved from massive fleets and hordes of dropships descending on unsuspecting planets, then marching through defenses as though they simply could not penetrate the armor. But unfortunately now vehicles and personnel get bogged down in the mud as repulsor-lift vehicles are exceptionally rare, especially since they're so volatile. One strike and they go up like a massive firework. Munitions are even rations. Rations themselves are now simple, tasteless, doughy spheres. Enough to keep you alive, sure, but not really much else. Through all this, the rhetoric of dominance above all just never, ever stops. Those not actually fighting are told they must ration. They are told they must sacrifice for others. They are told to watch their own planet slowly die for the sake of their own domination. And that is about the time a new species arrived, a species called human. From an area they called the Dead Zone, they arrived. At first, it was just one ship. One massive ship. A ship the humans claim is a peaceful exploration vessel. They claim this, but the massive ship carries just as massive armament on it. Far more armament than the Crapola battle group could possibly face. On the border of Crapola and Shiite space, the humans began to bargain. As they did, a Shiite battle group arrived, not stupid enough to face their Crapola adversary and a new enemy with a massive ship that seems to be absolutely covered with weapons, which is brand new and state-of-the-art. At first, the Shiite and Crapola were ready to kill each other for the right to trade with the new species. That is until the human captain realized what was going on and contacted them both. immediately telling both sides in no uncertain terms that humans will trade with whomever they please. No one can simply claim ownership of humans. Finishing his little speech with, "If either of you have an issue with that, we can settle this here and now." With that order, rotating the massive turrets and opening up torpedo tubes as though they're getting ready, the Crapola and Shiite looked on as 36-point defense cannons rose from hidden doors around the ship, and realizing that even a combined effort would not take down this massive ship, and they definitely didn't want to lose a new trading partner, a new species. At that point, reasonable heads prevailed. From that moment, species around the universe began to trade with the humans, yet they could only receive what was on the approved trading list. Massive transports designed to land on a planet inside a hot landing zone, 3 distinct designs of them. But 2 of them were set up with giant fusion torches shoved up their ass, which made for an excellent weapon during landing. There was also an additional dropship that is used for very quick insertion. This square, box-like ship with tiny wings on the back became a favorite for especially pirates and raiders. There's also the ground vehicles. These range from hovercraft that supplement the repulsors with air pressure, which seem to be so fast that everybody wanted them. There was also the dual energy cannons on top of something the humans call tracks. And there was, of course, the big war machines, the big guns, humans called them. Massive, usually bipedal or quadrupedal war machines that bring a massive amount of hurt to any of the battlefields. Their armament is anything from basic machine guns to full-on electromagnetic cannons that fire a projectile at 7 times the speed of sound. They also have an array of energy weapons to buy. Some of them are small enough that you can simply take out those on the ground, all the way up to massive ones that seem to be particle cannons that send out an electrostatic ball of pure hate into the enemy. Since these species at war love to take planets instead of destroying them if they can help it, these weapons are perfect. So perfect that it's clear that they would outlast any of the pilots. Even as a selling point, humanity would say how these are going to be generational machines as they will outlast anyone who fights in them. These generational machines become the new stable for warfare, as the rules put forth by humans had to be obeyed in order for them to be purchased. The rules were simple. Since humanity did not want to see entire species wiped out, they simply said no chemical or biological weapons. No weapons of mass destruction, to include nuclear weapons all the way up to dropping moons on the planet. As long as these rules were followed, humans simply made more and more weapons for everybody to tear each other apart with. Seeing that the humans have such wonderful weapons, many of the species thought perhaps they would simply take a human world and then take the weapons instead of purchasing them. However, since they realized that humans could supply so many weapons, none tried, except for one. Only once did a species try to take a human world. The Dai Riha sent a group in, but was barely able to make planetfall before the colony world that they were invading was completely surrounded by human vessels from all different directions, each one of them charging in, all guns blazing. On the ground, it seemed as though every single human had one of these bipedal war machines, many of different sizes, some not much bigger than a human, all the way to some that seemed to dwarf the biggest machines that they purchased. Behind every living piece of wood, there seemed to be another one of these war machines, or perhaps another human holding one of their pulse weapons, or a projectile weapon, or something. The battle quickly ended, and only a single soldier, chosen at random, would be allowed to return to tell the tale. As the soldier was tossed onto the landing pad on the Dai Riha homeworld, a message was sent. The humans would no longer trade with them, ever. Through perpetuity, they are done. And if any species was seen buying weapons from the humans and selling back to the Daihira, then they would be restricted as well. The Daihira realized that this puts a bullseye right on them. Since this will mean that they will no longer have fresh supplies, this could be a death sentence if they try to waste any of their resources casually. So they did the only thing they could. They dug in and spent no resources they could not afford to lose. The other species, leave them be as they're still fighting each other. The humans simply stay in their territory, though, only sending out transport to deliver goods and take in payments. The humans keep to themselves, never ever inviting any species in. The only ones that actually show up inside human territory are payment, and they will never ever leave that territory. It's almost like humans are simply waiting for something inside their territory, just out there waiting. But nobody knows why, as they're too busy dealing with their own wars on 12, 14, sometimes 20 some odd fronts, tearing at each other with these new massive weapons of war, striding across the battlefield as though they are death themselves. Inside the human territory, humans themselves work with patience in mind, as they know the simple truth. Never go to war. That's the secret. Remember that, and you will inherit the universe. Because who will inherit the universe? Humans and their gun-dealing society. Because all the other species are too busy killing each other to notice what's about to happen. Hello everybody, this is Syntax. Thank you for joining me today on the short story, which was actually recommended by one of my fans. Now, before I go, I need to say that today's winner is Alan Williams, with Jod Wagner coming in really close second. And now I need to send out some special thank yous to the supporters of the channel. Without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. And they are Prozac and Pancakes, SS Demon, Brian Kemp, MTF Guard, Julius Boone, Douglas Scarborough, Erica Gem, Guardian Sage, and Sir. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, punching out.